Hi, I'm James, and this is a line. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you how this line will help you lose weight. And you'll do it without starving yourself, without spending hours in a gym, and without taking pills, powders, potions, or any of those gimmicks. Watch this presentation until the very end, and you'll also discover the little-known way to enjoy all your favorite foods, yes, even the fattening ones most diets forbid, and still shrink your stomach, take several inches off your waist, and get in the best shape you've been in years. And not only will you look and feel at least a decade younger, you'll better your health too. Because the tricks you're about to learn don't just tighten and tone your entire body. They also lower cholesterol, stabilize blood sugar, normalize blood pressure, and just about every other marker of well-being. The best part? You won't have to count a single calorie, eat bird-sized portions, or follow those complicated point systems. This is so simple, yet it's the most overlooked secret when it comes to weight loss. The same secret I accidentally discovered that helped me shed over 36 pounds of ugly fat and kept off till this very day. Plus, I'm going to reveal the #1 mistake almost everyone makes that leads to endless yo-yo dieting and destroys your chances of getting fit. When you find out exactly what it is and how to easily avoid it, you'll finally be on your way to that flat stomach you deserve. In fact, if you follow my step-by-step instructions to the letter, you have no choice but to lose every last ounce of your unwanted weight. Wouldn't that be a secret you'd love to know? Listen, I do have to warn you though. I have no idea how long I'll keep this presentation online. You see, unlike the mountains of misinformation floating around the web, in magazines, and those daily TV shows, this stuff actually works, and you won't find it anywhere else. Most of all, when you act on the simple advice coming up shortly, you'll experience fat loss results you never imagined possible. And to be honest, I should be charging for this. So watch it now while you can, and it's still free. Oh, one more thing. Now you may think you've tried it all and seen it all, but you've never seen anything like this before. And I promise, these solutions to get in the health and body you desire will surprise you. And one tip in particular will completely shock you. Remember, I'm going to show you how to shortcut your way to a flat stomach, and even more little-known tricks to get the figure that makes others faint with envy. First, I'm going to share a story with you that's pretty embarrassing, and quite frankly, somewhat painful. In fact, I almost left it out of this presentation altogether, and you'll see why in just a moment, so keep watching. Deal? Now, I wasn't always the guy others sought out for dieting advice, and I definitely didn't have a website that over 300,000 people flock to every month for cutting-edge fat loss tips. Far from it. In fact, I was grossly overweight and quite unhealthy for many years. But something happened to me one day that changed all that forever. Even now, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a sunny Saturday morning in Boston and the city was just coming to life. This was definitely the nicest day of the year so far. Everyone was stepping out to enjoy it. The many cafes and breakfast shops lining the downtown streets were quickly filling up, and you could smell the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee and fried eggs as you walked by. People were in a great mood, smiling and chatting away loudly as they picked at their food, happy to leave the cold, brutal winter behind and looking forward to the warm summer that couldn't get here soon enough. Sadly, I didn't feel the same way. You see, spring was always a somber time for me. It meant swapping the heavy coats and sweatshirts for t-shirts. Not to mention, beach season was just around the corner, and shedding those layers was a harsh reminder of how badly I needed to get in shape. What's worse is that every May I'd make a vow to lose weight, but I'd always fall short, ending up a little bit fatter than the year before. Now don't get me wrong, it wasn't for lack of trying. In fact, I'd gone on many diets throughout the years, and sure, I'd lose a few pounds, but eventually I'd get fed up with starving myself and just fall off the wagon. As you can imagine, I'd gain back every ounce with interest. But this year I felt especially down because, well, I finally admitted to myself that I had zero control over my weight or my health. I was literally a slave to food and bad habits and knew I had to change. And perhaps you can relate and you know you need to change too. For me, one terrifying thing had to happen before I really got it. That morning I was meeting my friend Steve for a bite at one of our favorite spots. It was only 9:30, but the place was already packed. So rather than waiting for a table, we squeezed in at the counter. Now, I had the best intentions to eat something light like scrambled eggs and a bit of cereal, but the smell of freshly made pancakes was simply too overwhelming. And when Steve ordered blueberry pancakes, well, I just couldn't resist and did the same. Arrived, I was ravished, so I drowned those babies in maple syrup and went to town. But in my greedy haste to swallow every bite as fast as possible, plus the fact that there was so little room to move, the unthinkable happened. The plate got too close to the edge of the counter, and as I was cutting through the pancakes, it flipped over, slathering my shirt and shorts with syrup on the way down before loudly smashing on the floor, sending food and glass everywhere. In a split second, all eyes were on me. I could feel my cheeks burning as they turned beet red. Reluctantly, I stood up and apologized to our waitress, who rushed over to clean up the mess I had just made. She handed me a moist towel to wipe off my shirt, and while I stood there rubbing syrup all over my gut, I felt like one big fat slob. I was so embarrassed, I wanted the earth to open up and just swallow me. What a way to kick off such a nice day, right? But things were about to get worse. A lot worse. After finishing breakfast, Steve went home and I walked to the park. Now at this point, I looked like a hobo, but I didn't want to go home and change. I knew I'd just end up on the couch watching TV and pass on my first workout. I was determined not to mess things up, so I decided to chill on a bench for half an hour and digest, then head to the gym. By the time I got there, it was busy as usual. Now, I never felt comfortable going into gyms given my size issues, but today, my sloppy appearance was making me particularly self-conscious. And those awkward stares I got as I made my way to the treadmill didn't help one bit. Nevertheless, I brushed them off and tried to focus on my routine. And after warming up with a brisk walk, I increased the speed and started a light jog. Not even 2 minutes went by when it happened. From one moment to the next, this paralyzing weakness came over me. I felt my legs turn to jelly and I started seeing stars. I was just seconds away from fainting, so I slammed the red emergency button to stop the treadmill and grabbed the handle to avoid falling. And as I stood there, hunched over trying to catch my breath, I could feel the blood pounding through my neck veins with every beat of my heart. After what seemed like an eternity, my vision finally cleared up. Somehow, I made my way to the bathroom and caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I was pale as a ghost and cold sweat was pouring down my face. That's when I went into a panic. What's happening to me, I thought to myself. Was I having a heart attack? Was I really that unhealthy that I couldn't handle a few minutes of jogging? I just wanted to be on my couch, but there was no way I was getting there in this state. I was literally running on fumes, and oddly enough, I was starving too, even though I had just eaten a little while ago. So I splashed a bunch of water on my face and took a few minutes to pull it together. And after calming down a bit, I left the gym and hit the convenience store 2 doors down. I grabbed the first bag of chips I laid eyes on and started devouring them. Several bites later, I came out of my daze just long enough to notice the man behind the counter staring at me. So I walked over, paid him, and headed home. Once I got there, I raided my fridge and cupboards, plopped myself on the sofa, and started feasting to the point of disgust. Pizza, ice cream sandwiches, Oreos, devil dogs, you name it. I ate, and I ate, and I ate until I was sick to my stomach. And as I sat there in my syrup-stained clothes, feeling vile from all the junk I had shoved down my throat, I just snapped. Tears of anger and frustration came to my eyes. It was in that exact moment that I truly understood how bad my addiction to food really was and how little control I had over my health. And with heart disease and diabetes running in the family, I knew that this was just a small glimpse of all the bad things to come if I didn't change my ways and fast. So right then and there I made a vow that I would never ever let food imprison me like this again, that I would get fit and healthy or die trying. So I went on to read every diet book I could get my hands on. I spent countless hours at the library and online researching obesity, human physiology, and the connections between them. And after a while I started to see a pattern. It explained why some people could eat practically anything they wanted and not gain weight, while others like myself stored most food as fat. Not only that, I also stumbled onto a way to manipulate my metabolism at the cellular level so that I could enjoy all my favorite treats and still shed the pounds. And in a moment, I'm going to share my discovery with you. So keep watching. Now remember, despite my success today, I'm really no different than you. I'm just an average guy who went through hell before stumbling onto a system. A system that puts everyday folks like us in total control of our weight and health. One that frees you from the constant cravings, the endless guilt that comes from cheating on some diet, and the cycle of losing and regaining the same 5 or 10 pounds. A system that allows you to look your best, year after year, no matter how many candles are lighting up your birthday cake. The same system I used to get rid of 36 pounds of fat in a matter of weeks, and kept off till this very day. And it's the system I'll be sharing with you shortly, so you can finally experience the results you desire too. And I'll give you all the details in just a moment. First, I need to tell you something that may make your blood boil a bit. And you know what? It should, Because this is the hidden foe behind why you're gaining weight in the first place. You see, the truth is, your body does not want to be fat. And if you're overweight, it's really not your fault. The actual problem is the fact that you've been lied to for years. And these lies are keeping you from that flat stomach you desire and deserve. Now, one of the biggest of these lies is that in order to lose weight, you have to eat health foods that are low in calories and have little fat. I bet you've heard that, or maybe even believed it at one point in your life. Yet, that's not even close to the truth. And if you're one of the millions who fell victim to this lie, then you must decide right now to believe the truth instead because, well, if you don't, you'll continue eating the wrong foods. Foods that constantly keep you hungry, slow down your metabolism, rob you of your energy, and force you to store fat. And eventually, no matter how strong you are, you simply give up on dieting and on your dream body altogether. Listen, this isn't what I want for you, and I know it's not what you want for yourself. Yet, this is the reason you struggle with your weight. And again, it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself for a single minute. Now, if you really want to blame someone for your suffering, blame the experts you see in the media. The same experts recommending all those health foods for decades, even though the facts tell a different story. Let me give you an example. We've been on a low-fat kick for over 30 years, ever since the USDA gave us our food pyramid in the late 70s, and yet there's more fat folks around than ever before. And on the surface, this may seem a bit strange, but when you dig a little deeper, it makes perfect sense. You see, foods that have been stripped of their natural fat are loaded with sugar and artificial sweeteners. In fact, if they weren't, they'd taste like cardboard and nobody would buy them. But besides giving food its taste, these additives mess with your metabolism. Specifically, they cause you to hoard fat. It's the complete opposite effect you'd expect by swapping the full-fat version of a food for the low-fat one. And yet, that's exactly what happens. Now, here's another example of a health food that really isn't healthy at all. Are you ready for this? It's a bit of a shocker. Orange juice. How can this be? Well, an orange is one of the most nutritious things you can eat. But when you drink a glass of juice, it's like injecting 3 to 4 oranges into your bloodstream in one shot. This spikes your blood sugar through the roof. The end result? That pile of sugar ends up flooding your liver. But since your liver can only hold a small amount, the rest gets converted to fat. Fat that ends up in your belly, your thighs, your butt, or any other place you happen to store it. Are you starting to get the picture? And keep in mind, those are just 2 examples. Just think about all the other foods you've been told are good for you, but are actually making you fatter and sicker with each passing year. The reality is, this information out there that the media loves to exploit is enough to confuse anyone. A lot of smart people bought into these lies. In fact, they had me running in circles for years. So, now that you know the problem, that the reason you don't already have the body you want is because of the myths that have been literally shoved down your throat, let's dive into the advice I have for you today. The same tips that thousands have used to shed their unwanted weight, claim back their health, and add years and years to their life. And the most important tip I can give you is this. Don't ever rely on calorie counting, portion controls, point systems, meal logging, or any of those exhaustive methods to help you get fit. Why? Because they may cause more harm than good. In fact, a 2010 dieting study conducted at the University of California, San Francisco found that tracking your calories in order to lose weight leads to psychological stress and forces your body to release more cortisol. And if you're not aware, it's the worst enemy when trying to slim down and for your health overall. You see, not only does it pack on rolls of ugly belly fat, it also stores a different kind of fat known as visceral fat deep inside your abdomen and around your organs. Now, unlike the fat on your belly, which you can easily pinch between your fingers, you can't touch or even see visceral fat. Despite this, it's deadly because it elevates your cholesterol, your triglycerides, your blood pressure and blood sugar, and has even been blamed for several cancers. And if that wasn't bad enough, cortisol also breaks down your muscles. And that, my friends, slows down your metabolism. So, aside from making you look flabby and weak, it also makes it harder for you to lose fat, yet much easier to store it. Now, I'm not saying that portion controls and point systems don't work at all. You can certainly get results with them. But the moment you stop these methods, because, well, let's be honest, nobody can do that for the rest of their lives, well, the weight starts coming back. For instance, thousands have slimmed down with Weight Watchers' point system. But have you ever been to their meetings? So many of their members have been yo-yo dieting for years and are desperate to get back on the wagon. Because again, It's almost impossible to stick to such ho-hum schemes day in and day out. On the other hand, if you want to lose weight permanently, the process must be dead simple, a mere afterthought. In fact, the less you have to work at it, the easier the pounds will come off, and the higher the chances they'll stay off. And the reason for this is something called the instinctual eating principle, or IEP. I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. First, if you really want to get fit as fast as possible, you absolutely must avoid starving yourself. The truth is, you need to eat a lot, much more than you think. And not doing so is the #1 mistake almost everyone makes when trying to burn fat. And it always backfires because it leads to that endless cycle of yo-yo dieting. Let me explain. When you go on a new diet but don't eat enough and you're always hungry, you set yourself up to fail from the start. And for two reasons. First, while you'll lose a little weight in the beginning, sooner or later, whether it be several days or a couple of weeks, you're going to plateau. And you may have experienced this yourself when starting a new program. You drop a few pounds at first, but suddenly, everything comes grinding to a halt. The scale won't budge no matter how hard you try. This is due to something called hormonal downregulation, and that's just a fancy $10 term to describe your body producing fewer hormones, specifically T4 and leptin. Well, when these hormone levels drop, your metabolism slows down and you stop burning fat. And as frustrating as this may be to you as a dieter, it's just your body's natural survival mechanism. Keep in mind, it doesn't care that you want to slim down, fit into smaller clothes, and look better. Its primary goal is keeping you alive. And when you start shrinking, it feels threatened and slams the brakes on your progress. Now, there is a way to trick your body so you continue to lose weight week after week and without stalling. And we'll get to that shortly. First, here's the second reason why starving yourself always fails to deliver lasting fat loss. It's due to the simple fact that nobody can expect to fight hunger and win. I don't care how much willpower you have, or how many meals you're willing to swap with carrots and celery sticks. Sooner or later, hunger will beat you. And when that happens, you end up binging on all kinds of fattening food. Then, you feel horrible for falling off the wagon and just give up altogether. Naturally, you gain back all the weight you may have lost and then some. So, instead of trying to eat like a bird, you should choose the right foods and eat lots of them. Because when you eat the right foods, natural whole foods filled with critical nutrients, vitamins, and minerals, you won't have to worry about portions or too many calories. The best part? These foods provide your body with everything it needs to get rid of unwanted fat automatically. Just picture it. Sitting at your dining room table, pushing your plate away after that last bite because you're not just full, but stuffed from such a massive mouth-watering meal. And not in a bad way where you're bloated and uncomfortable, but with that warm, cozy feeling in your stomach and an ear-to-ear grin of satisfaction knowing that, despite feasting like a king, your body is actually getting busy on burning off fat. Sound good? Here's another piece of advice you'll welcome with open arms. Did you know you can avoid the plateaus that plague almost every diet just by eating your favorite treats at the right times? It's true. Oreos, Ben & Jerry's cookie dough ice cream, pizza, steak and cheese subs. These are some of my favorites, and you can use these and others like them to prevent stalling. In fact, here's a fun exercise I want you to try. Tonight, when you have about 15 minutes of downtime, grab a pen and a piece of paper and make a list of your top 20 treats. Write down anything you want. Why should you do this? Simple, because these foods will form a key part of your fat loss strategy. And when you eat them in the right amounts on certain days, you virtually guarantee the scale keeps moving down week after week. Just imagine the look of surprise on your friends and family's faces when you tell them you're eating cookies or cake or whatever your favorite foods happen to be because they're helping you to lose weight. And as much as they'll think you're crazy, they'll beg you to spill your secrets when they see with their very own eyes how fast this plan is making you slimmer and slimmer. Now here's the most critical fat burning tip of all. If you don't do this, none of what you just learned will matter. Yes, it's that important when it comes to you losing weight fast and keeping it off for good. It's what I mentioned a little while ago, the instinctual eating principle, or IEP. Now, this is the only way to eat as much as you want without having to count calories, log meals, or follow point systems and still get fit. And it's also the rule that just about every naturally lean species follows, including the lion. That's right. Remember that lion I showed you at the beginning of this presentation? And